What's up, you guys? Today we are going to work our way through lesson 24 on code.org. Now you can see I've already done a few of these lessons here. I've worked them out ahead. So you're probably going to see the solution right off the bat, but I would still encourage you to just listen and watch the video so that way you can know what's going on. And don't forget to subscribe if this video helps you out and you want to see more like it or some of the other videos that I post, and leave a like if this video helped you out. And as always, if you have questions, you can leave those down below in the comments and myself or someone else will answer them for you. Alright, so intro finished, let's get started. So lesson 24, as far as I can see it, it says determine the concept, which to me that sounds like a review. And in this first puzzle that we're working on here, we have to get this bee to gather all these flowers, and we have all the tools available to us to let them do it, but we only have 5 blocks to work with. So what I think we should do is just go ahead and tell him to move forward and get the flowers, and just do that a bunch of times. It's going to be easier to do it that way. So if we take a loop, just say repeat number of times, and we're going to repeat it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times. And then within that loop, we're going to put another loop that says 3 times to get nectar. So we're going to have this say action move forward. No, we're going to have this move forward and then action get nectar. And this right here should run just right off the bat. There, he gets all 3, all 3, all 3, and then we're done. That's it. Excellent. So now we're going to move on to puzzle number 2. And again, you're going to see that solution straight away, but I'll clear it out. Alright, so this one we have to get this girl to, I think it's a girl anyway, it doesn't really matter, get her to move down and fill the holes, but in this scenario we don't know how many holes, so we're going to use a conditional to fill the hole. But first we have to get her to move forward, turn left, move forward, turn right, and then it looks like move forward, turn left, move forward, turn right again. So she's going to be doing the same thing twice, so we already know that we can just loop something twice. And then again we can say while there is a hole. So this way, while there is a hole, while there's at least one hole, she's going to fill one. And what we're going to say here is, just like I said, move forward, turn left, move forward, turn right. And we're going to repeat all of this 2 times, and that uses all 8 blocks, and we're going to go ahead and run that, and she will do exactly that. And it doesn't matter how many holes there are, you may have different numbers of holes, it doesn't matter, she will fill all of them. Alright, so we're going to continue on to puzzle number 3, and there's that pesky solution yet again. So this one, it looks like we're going to get some, or we're going to make some honey from these honeycombs, but we don't know how many for all of them. But no matter what, we know we have to repeat whatever we're doing 1, 2, 3 times. So we're going to go ahead and actually I can think of another way that we can do this. So we're going to do it that way. So we're going to go ahead and put a conditional and say while path ahead do, and then first we're going to say move forward because he has to move forward before he can get the honey. And we're going to get another conditional and we're going to say while nectar, well no, we don't want nectar, we're going to say while honey greater than 0, meaning if he is on one of these honeycombs and the honey count is greater than 0, then he is going to do whatever we tell him to do in this loop, and that is going to be make honey. And then we will take another conditional and say if path to the left do action turn left. And this should be all we need to do to get him to do all of this. Now you could have instead finagled a way to get this to repeat 3 times and do all of this, but you may have run over in blocks. So let's just let him do it just like this. And so it looks like he's gathering all the honey, and this takes a little while to run. You know, this is probably the most time-consuming part of this whole operation. And you can see there's no more honey up here for him to gather. So we're just going to leave that the way it is. And then he runs out, and that's it. He's got all the honey, so we're going to continue on to puzzle number 4. So this is going to be very similar to the previous one. However, instead of, like you saw in that little solution at the beginning, instead of the repeat loops, we're just going to tell it to do it while path ahead, and this way it doesn't matter how many twists and turns there are, he will do exactly what we need him to do. So let's go ahead and bring in a conditional, and we're going to bring in a while path ahead, and then we're going to bring in another while path ahead. Okay, so we're going to have him within this smaller while path ahead. We're going to tell him to move forward, and then again while nectar greater than 0, sorry, while honey greater than 0, we will tell him to, no, sorry, not honey, nectar. I was right the first time. Never second guess yourself. While nectar greater than 0, get nectar. Okay. So then outside of this smaller while path ahead, we're going to tell him to turn right, because, you know, he's got to turn right this time. And so this way, when there's not a little path ahead, he'll turn right, and then when there's no longer a big path ahead, well, then he'll just stop. So instead of, you know, we're going to say while path ahead, do what's inside here. So he's going to keep doing what's inside here as long as there's a path ahead, and you'll just see, we'll just run it here. So you can see he's running, running, running. No longer a path ahead, so he turns right. So what we're doing here is we're nesting these while loops so that this one can't stop running until there's no longer a path ahead, and that will let him turn right, and then that makes this one still true, because then there's still a path ahead, because once we've turned right, then we go back to run the big loop again. So that's why we nested this. It looks redundant, but it's actually done on purpose. All right, so now we can move on to puzzle number 5. And in this one it says, yes, recreate this image. The hexagons have sides of 5 pixels, blah, blah, blah. So let's just let that run. And I'll go ahead and leave this function here. Hexagon, of course, you know, the hexagons have sides of 50 pixels. So move forward 50 pixels, turn right by 60 degrees. That's how many degrees are in each angle of the hexagon. And then we need to jump forward by 100 pixels to make another hexagon. So here's what we'll do first. Since each one has to be widths 1 pixel, 4 pixel, and 8 pixels, I will first set width. Where's the brushes? Sorry, I'm looking for variables because that's in a different one. So set width to 1, and then run function hexagon, and then we will set width to 4 and run function hexagon, and then we will set width, well, we're going to need to run hexagon. What have I done? Okay, there we go. So we're going to need to run hexagon again, so we have it there. So then we will set width to 8 and go ahead and draw that last hexagon, and you'll see draws it with 1, draws it with 4, and draws it with 8. All right, excellent. So now we can continue past puzzle 5 into uncharted territory where I have not done it yet, but I don't think it'll be too difficult for us to solve this. So this B is going to need to move forward, and then he's going to need to turn. Now we could have him zigzag and do that a bunch of times and put that into a function and do it, but I think instead I'm just going to use some conditionals and say while path ahead, do move forward, so that he'll be moving forward, and then be moving forward. See, I'm getting jokes now. All right, while nectar greater than 0, do action get nectar, and then we'll put another conditional in that says while honey greater than 0, do make honey. And then we will tell him to turn right, move forward, and then turn left. All right, so you can see within this while path ahead, he's going to do everything that's in here. So he's going to first move forward, and then whether there's nectar or there's honey, if it's not nectar and it's honey, he's just going to skip and go to the next one. So if, you know, when he gets to here, he's going to be making honey. When he gets to here, he's going to be getting nectar. And then he's going to first turn right, move forward, and then turn left, and then continue doing that because there's always going to be a path ahead of him because of what we've done here. So we've, in a way, made a repeat loop out of a while path ahead using fewer blocks. Alright, so we can go ahead and hit run here, and you'll see he'll gather all of that, and then turn, and then gather all of that, and then turn, and then gather all of that. So you can see we're zigzagging like this. Now the other way to do it using only conditionals would be while path ahead, do move forward, if this, do this, if that, do that, and then you could tell him, you know, turn left and right when there's no longer a path ahead. But, you know, this way we used fewer blocks, which takes less time for all of us, which everybody likes. Alright, puzzle number 7. So this one is an interesting one, and again, it has several different solutions. My favorite one involves a while path ahead and then a set function. So first, let's go ahead and build this function, and we will just call it get pumpkins. And within this function, we're going, well, first let's bring in this conditional. So we'll say while path ahead do. So while there's a path ahead, which there's always going to be, do whatever's inside of here. So then for our get pumpkins function, we're going to say, because when she gets to here, this block, and then this block, and then this block, this is what we're going to want to do. We will say turn right, and then a repeat loop. We're going to repeat it 2 times because there's only 2 pumpkins per time. We're going to say move forward, pick pumpkin. Move forward, and then pick the pumpkin. Okay, and then she needs to, and remember you can either use 2 turns or you can use a loop again. So we'll just say turn right, because either way you're using 2 blocks. Remember, if you're only doing something twice, you're only going to use 2 blocks no matter what. Okay, and then we're going to say, oh, actually there's an easier way to do it. Instead of telling her to turn right and turn around and walk, I forgot we have this. It's a variable movement block, so we can say move backward. And one thing I really wish code.org would let you do would be copy and paste what you're doing. So if you need to do something multiple times, you don't have to go back into the toolbox or the toolbar and pull it back out again. It'd be nice if you could copy and paste your code blocks, but alas, it's a great program as it is. Okay, and then when she gets back out, so we're here and she's backed out, then she needs to turn left to be facing this way again because she turned right to go in, so it's going to be a left to get out. And that's it, get pumpkins, just like that. So now in our while path ahead, we're going to say do move forward, and then conditionals, if path to the right, do get pumpkins. And we're at 13 out of 17 blocks here, way under budget, which is where we like to be. And you'll see she will get all of the pumpkins. And again, this is taking less time than if you worked it all the way out using all the complicated loops and conditionals. Functions are amazing things. They help you a lot. Also, it really helps to have those variables. So instead of saying that I have to turn left, or turn right, and then move forward to get out of there, you can just tell her to move backwards and then turn left and she'll get out. All right, now here we are at puzzle number 8. Now this one is actually just like the one, so it doesn't matter that there's no wall here because we're only going to do it as long as there's a path ahead, and then we're going to turn and turn and turn. So it's exactly the same as it was before. However, I think I will still use a repeat loop here because we know we're only going to have to do it 1, 2, 3, 4 times. But you remember you could use a while path ahead and then if path to the right, but there's always going to be a path to the right or left here. So we're just going to say repeat 4 times, and then we're going to say while path ahead because we want it to only move forward while there's a path ahead, right? Okay, so move forward, and then we're going to say another conditional, if at flower, do get nectar. And that's it for the while path ahead. And then remember, when there's no longer a path ahead, we need to turn left here, left here, left here. So it's left every time. So when there's no longer a path ahead, we just turn left, and then we start back at our repeat. Now you could use another while path ahead do, and then you wouldn't have to specify repeat 4 times, and then it wouldn't matter how many turns there were. You would just keep doing it because this loop would always be satisfied, because this loop, or this turn left, would always make it satisfied. But we're not going to do that because you could end up in an infinite loop if this doesn't detect that it's complete. So we're not going to do that. We're just going to stick with the repeat 4 times, and we're going to let it run, and the bee will get all of the nectar. There it goes. There it goes. And then it's going to get those last 2. Just like that. Perfect. All right. So, yay, we just completed puzzle number 8. All right, let's move on to puzzle number 9. So this one is very much the same as the one we just did involving the bee, except this time we're going to be filling holes. So we'll bring in another loop, and we will say repeat this 4 times, and then again we will say while path ahead do, and we're going to say action move forward, and then fill 1, turn left when there's no longer a path ahead. Because if you'll notice the positioning of these holes, it's always at the end of the path before she has to turn. So we don't even need to say if hole, fill hole. There's only one hole to fill, so we only need to do it 1 time. So we'll say fill 1 and then turn left. And this is it. Now she'll run, she'll fill that hole, turn left, fill the next one, turn left, fill the next one, turn left, fill the next one, turn left. And again, you could use another while path ahead to avoid having to specify the number of times, but there's no real need to do that here because we know how many times. But if you had to do it 500 times, you wouldn't want to sit and count all 500 times. Anyway, let's move on. Puzzle number 10. All right. That's right. This one is actually pretty easy to do, really. You just have to you have to build your functions accordingly. So we know each square has side length of 20 pixels, and there are 15 rows per square. That's very useful information because we don't have to count it out now. So let's go ahead and start building a function, and we will just call it square. Oops, sorry, bumped the mic. All right. And to draw a square, we know that we need a repeat loop, and we need it to repeat 4 times, and we will say move forward by how many pixels? 20 pixels, and then we're going to turn right by 90 degrees, and that's it. So now let's just test to make sure we can draw a square. Okay, square is drawn. We'll pull that away for now, and then to draw a line of squares, which is our next function, let's just call it a square line. Square line. Okay. We need to draw a square, but we need to do it a certain number of times. So we want to draw a square 15 times, and we also need to do something else though, and I'll show you what it is. So we're going to say square. And be careful with this. It doesn't matter what you name your functions, but you want them to be differently named. So you don't, if I put square line inside of square line, then when it tries to execute square line, it's going to run square line, which is going to tell it to run square line, and you end up in an infinite loop, and code.org will crash without a doubt. Okay, so then after we draw a square, what do we need to do? Well, each side length is 20 pixels, so we need to jump forward by 20 pixels. So then let's check to make sure this works. We'll call it square line, reset and run. What did I do wrong? Yes, repeat 15 times. Okay, here we go. There we go. So now I've drawn a line of 15 squares. I'm going to slow this down just a little tiny bit. There we go. All right, so we know that square line works. And then to draw a 15 by 15 plane of squares, it's just going to be another function, and we'll call it plane of squares. And we will say to repeat this 15 times because it's 15 by 15. So we need a loop, and we need to repeat this 15 times. And this is where we're going to have to add some extra code and get a little bit fancy. So the first thing we need to do is draw a line of squares, but then we need to do something else. We need to jump backwards by how many pixels. Well, each square is 20 pixels in length and width. So, and there are 15 per row, so 20 times 15 is 300. And because you can multiply that pretty easy. 2 times 15 is 30. Add the 0 to get 300. All right, math tricks. Okay, actions. So we're going to jump backward by 300 pixels. And then we're going to turn right by 90 degrees, so that we'll be facing downward. And then we will jump forward by 20 pixels. But just 20 pixels so that we can get to the next line. And then we need to turn left by 90 degrees to reorient ourselves. Why does it put 60? It knows I need to use 90. It just wants me to type and make a mistake, I think. All right. So then plane of squares. And so what's going to happen here is it's going to call the function square line. So it's going to draw 15 squares, and then it's going to jump backwards. So it's going to draw all the way across, jump backwards, draw all the way across, jump backwards, draw all the way across, jump backwards, so on and so forth. And you'll see it's going to do it. Let's speed that up a little bit, or a lot. All right, so you can see there it's going to draw all 15 rows to make the complete plane of squares. And I think this is the last. Well, no, I think there's a lesson extra or something like that. Let's hit continue and see. No, that's it. That's lesson 24 right there, and then lesson 25 is an unplugged. So tune in next time, and we'll work our way through lesson 26, which is actually pretty easy as well. If this video helped you, remember you can leave a like. If it didn't help you, go ahead and leave a dislike. I need the feedback. If you have a question or suggestion down below for other lessons you'd like to see, go ahead and leave a comment, and I'm pretty good at responding, so I'll usually get back to you pretty quickly. And if I can't get back to you, somebody else will probably come along and answer your question. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.